Getting a
Okay, so thank you all for joining us for another masterclass with the Winners Club. It is 7 p.m. here, Central Standard Time, so it's a sacrifice. I know everybody's gone through their work day, but I truly believe that this information will be substantive and just good information for you to take real time and apply it to your everyday lives as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as employees. Okay, so before we get into the masterclass, I want to just share a little bit more about the Winners Club for those who may not be familiar with the organization. So, my name is Christina Wynn. I'm the owner of the Winners Club, and we are a business development consulting company. So, we offer three main services. We offer business coaching, specialize in all things startup. We specialize in the MBE and WBE certification, social media marketing, business plan creation, pitch deck creation, overall small business strategy, and then opportunities for scaling your small business. And then we offer access to capital. So we help you establish business credit. We can help you with the sourcing of business loans through the SBA, through CDFIs, through different banking institutions. And then we can help you with RFP and grant dollars through the acquisition of those two type of opportunities. And then we do business education. So we have an online course where we help business owners create a business plan and a pitch deck. It's a cohort style 8-week program. And then we offer the free master classes. So that is a part of what we are doing here today is one of our service offerings through our business education leg of the business. So thank you all again for being a part. Can't do without you guys, right? Can't just be being the speaker every time. So I really do appreciate you all. And again, I know that you all get a lot out of this. So now that's enough about me and the Winners Club and all of that. So now I'm going to allow you all to introduce yourselves and then we'll go into our presentation. So Latanzia, you are first on my screen. So I'm going to have you do your name, your elevator pitch, and then a fun fact about yourself we can now find on your resume.
good evening. Again, my name is Latanzia Sanders. I am an aspiring entrepreneur, so my elevator pitch will not necessarily reveal the name of my actual company because I have not established it just yet. So I am the owner of ABC Construction. I am looking to remodel residential homes in the southwest suburbs. As a result of my services, homeowners in the southwest suburbs are walking into their dream homes. Real estate agents are able to list and quickly sell the homes I flip, and in turn, municipalities are able to welcome new residents and change and transform the landscape of their communities, increasing attractiveness to prospective residents. I am looking to collaborate with bankers, brokers, and anyone in the real estate community. Who do you know?
And then your
Fun,
fun facts.
a fun fact about me. My favorite place to go is the library. So you will sense that I am excited today. I'm refreshed and replenished because I was able to finally do that for the first time in 1 year on Saturday. So my safe haven is the library. So that's my fun fact.
Interesting. You don't hear that as much anymore, you know?
Yes, yes.
That's good. That's
Thank you.
good. Thank you for sharing,
Thank you for
Latonya.
having me.
Absolutely. Okay, Greg, you're next. You can give us your introduction, please.
Great. Yes. Well, my name is Greg Diaz. I am what's called a PEO broker. PEO stands for Professional Employer Organization. And basically, what I do is I help small to mid sized businesses obtain things like workers' comp coverage, risk management, health benefits, 401ks to offer to their employees through these PEOs. And these PEOs prove to be an advantage because they're partnered with so many businesses and they have thousands of employees under their employer ID that it gives them the opportunity to offer these rates at a more competitive pricing for the business owner so that it's more affordable. One fun fact about me that's not on my LinkedIn is that I love to read. I love to read books, and yeah, I guess I just leave it there.
Got the smart people online
At the
today
library.
reading folks. They go to the libraries. They like books. I love it. Well, wonderful. That's why the conversation was so rich before we even got on. Like, y'all talking good. Awesome. Okay, Tamika, you are definitely not least, but you are our last person to do our introductions.
I am Tamika Hill. I am the owner of two companies, Step by Step, The Spot for Your Mind, which is a counseling company for individual counseling, family counseling, couples counseling. And I also am the business owner of T Hill Consultant, where we bring mental health, mental wellness into your workplace. And what that is about is basically training employers, entrepreneurs, and employees how to deal with mental health in the actual workplace, because as most studies have shown, most people are at work more than they are at home. So if your mental health is not well at work, then it's probably not well outside of there. So learning to balance that.
Nice. Fun fact.
Oh, and a fun fact about me, I watch ID all day, literally. Yes. Hence probably why I do counseling, right?
Should have been to work for the FBI.
I had to wean myself off of ID because of that.
Oh, I'm addicted.
I was taking different routes to work, coming home.
Lord.
But I'm like, that defeats the purpose, because everybody know where to find me after work, the library.
Hilarious. Well, good. I feel like we all know each other a little bit better now. And so we are ready for your presentation, Tamika. If you need to share your screen, you have screen share access, and I'll go ahead and mute myself now.
Okay. So today I am meeting with everyone, and I just want to spread knowledge about mental health, one of the most taboo topics, as we've known it in the past, but due to the culture and the environment currently changing, we are trying to change that conversation. My goal today is to show people how to actually implement mental wellness into their workspace from an individual, if you're an employee, or if you are an employer, or even if you're an entrepreneur. And also at the end, like, provide you tips. Feel free to ask questions at any given time, give examples so we can have a real interactive conversation, because so many times I'm speaking from my point of view, but there are so many ways that people are dealing with different things. If we don't let it out, then we can't talk about it, and that's the whole purpose. So, fun fact, I want people to know that it's in bad taste that we use this joke a lot about postal, but really postal actually stems from a mental health breakdown. An employee, snaps is what we call it, but really it's a mental health breakdown that you get tired, where your personal and your work life and all the stress combined together makes you snap, literally. So we're just here today, again, like I said, to learn how to balance that. So first off, let's start with entrepreneurs, since this is about more so geared towards entrepreneurs. One thing about entrepreneur, which we were having this conversation prior to the live video, was about boundaries. Entrepreneurs are go-getters. I'm an entrepreneur. I started my business from scratch with Christina, actually. One thing we don't know how to do is take breaks, because the first thing I hear entrepreneurs saying, I'm 24/7. I can't. If I don't do it, how am I going to make money? My money depends on me. True. But you also depend on you. So if you mentally aren't well, your company is going to suffer. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn the boundaries of when to turn that phone off, when to turn that computer off. I do understand that there's a lot of you needing to get done things in a timely fashion, but we also have to realize, if this is our 9 to 5, now we can't put in 8 hours, we might have to do 12 hours, but you can't work 12 hours 7 days a week. You have to know when to cut off and to balance self-care, because what happens is you eventually start bleeding into your company. And what I mean by that, if you are mentally like your mental wellness is not together, you tend to become irritable. You tend to become tired. You're not as focused. So eventually you're going to start making small mistakes, and then you're going to start focusing on those small mistakes, overthinking, and then that's going to lead to big mistakes. So balancing that is so important. Also, we self-talk a lot, but unfortunately we negative self-talk because we feel like, oh, I just started this company, but I should be here. Well, you just started the company a year ago, and that's still relatively new. And you think you're supposed to be where McDonald's or 500 company supposed to be. No, you're not supposed to be there yet. You're supposed to be where you are. You can't outwork the system. You have to take time and set small goals to obtain big goals. And so I'm very big on learning how to manifest your vision into smaller goals in your business. So if you have a vision that's really huge for your company, you have to scale that down into small goals to make them obtainable. That will be much, much better on your mental health and your self-talk, because we are the hardest on ourselves than anyone else. Now, people may come to us and say little smart remarks, but we actually probably have the most negative self-talk to ourselves than anybody. So it's so important, because once you start getting so many negative things in your mind, it takes over. And also, don't forget, you still have a personal life, whether that's kids, whether that's pets, whether that's your family outside, a spouse, a significant other, friends, whoever. And I know everybody does this. I've heard it so much. Well, if they're not with me, they're against me. No, they're not against you. They have lives as well. And you have to learn to balance your family and personal life along with being an entrepreneur. You don't want to just shut the world out because that's not their vision, that they don't understand it. So you don't have to fight with them to understand your vision and shut them off because, oh, they're not with me. You kind of have to like, okay, this is not their thing. That doesn't mean I have to separate from my family, because you still need human interaction. And we still need that love from our family. Is so important. Every human wants to be loved, even though people say, I don't care, I don't need them, and da 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 da. That's a lie. We all need somebody. You may not need the negative Nancy's, but you need people. And that's very important as an entrepreneur, and is part of your mental wellness. Surrounding yourself with a supportive team, not people who tell you yes either. That is not a supportive team. A supportive team is a person or people, whoever group, that can challenge you outside of you and you respect them enough that you hear them. And that doesn't mean always doing what they say, but it does mean, like, if they're saying, hey, I think you're a little stressed out, that you stop and take inventory of yourself. That's super huge when you're an entrepreneur, not only for business purposes, but for personal purposes. Because we get so involved as entrepreneurs in our projects that we don't realize. Or the other part, being an entrepreneur, you will self-medicate. Meaning, whether you overdrink coffee, I have been a coffee addiction for a while. I cold turkey because I was dependent on coffee to carry me through a lot. And I realized, like, that's just another form of addiction that I was using to maintain myself throughout the day. Not saying coffee bad for the coffee drinks, I'm not saying that, but you might pick up the habit of smoking or overeating, and all these parts play a part of your mental health because you're stressed and you're trying to get the deadline accomplished, and eventually it's taking a toll on your mental health. So I'm going to pause right here and see, do we got any questions, comments?
I do have a comment. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. But what you're saying is so very true. You're speaking to exactly some of the things that I struggle with and battle with. And one being like having the imposter syndrome. I started a new role about 11 months ago, and in my mind, and although it's not logical, in my mind, I should be where that person is who is 30 years into this. And so it's like learning ways, and I'm hoping to find ways to be more productive about addressing that, because it does weigh heavily on me, and it does have a big bearing on my mental state. And that then leads to, this is the comment that I cannot stand, and I hope that you'll impart some insights to it. But it's like, oh, you know, I've had a contentious conversation last week. And then, you know, I was talking to my manager about it, how the tone that I was met with is not going to be acceptable going forward. And I will establish that boundary on the next go around. And I've always been told, well, don't take it personal. How do you not take it personally when someone's, first of all, meeting you with a personal, very personal tone in nature? You know, professionally, you would never use this tone. So you're being met with a personal tone, and then people say, don't take it personally. To me, that defeated me. And is there some credence to that the whole don't take it, like that defeated me right there? Like, something wrong with me?
So I'm gonna speak directly to you. I am a challenger, so it may be a little uncomfortable. One, you have to figure out, why does the tone bother you? Because sometimes, and this is stereotyping a little bit, but people do it. Some people are raised with different tones, and this is not speaking of color. We're talking about tones. Some people are loud, and they really are just loud people. Some people speak with cursing words because that's the home they grew up in. And some people really just like going through life, and I'm not saying we take on other people's problems, but some people are going through their stuff and don't realize the energy they carry. And I am a person who strongly believes I don't match your energy, I'm a master it. I'm never going to allow where you're at to be where I'm at, because I'm in control of my energy at all times. So if I perceive your tone, like you said, as disrespectful, first I'm going to take inventory of why it's triggering me, because I'm in control of me. And it more than likely is related to something in our past that we didn't feel control over. But in reality, I don't have to because people are grown, and this doesn't mean we allow people to disrespect us. But you also can't tell grown people how to speak, unfortunately, because then that causes more tension. And then sometimes when people know your trigger, they step on that trigger like stepping on a fly or something. Like, they're going to keep hitting it every single time. If they're annoyed, and they could be annoyed with something completely different, but it's easier to release that energy onto you because I know you're triggered. And you're getting into this battle about trying to control somebody's tone. And it's not saying don't take it personal. Some things really aren't about us. I've always said take self-inventory, not saying that people should be allowed to disrespect us. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I always have to go back and ask myself, why does that really bother me? And I sit back and I observe, if I can, is this person demeanor with everybody before I even start taking it personal? Because sometimes it really is just a person, and we always got to one up them. They ain't gonna talk to me like that. They ain't gonna do me like that. Well, we got to one up you for what? Okay, now you said you ain't gonna do me like that. Now they know your sore spot. Now they gonna one up you. You one up them, and now you got a battle, an unnecessary battle at work that you no longer in control of. Versus matching their energy when you do that, versus like, okay, I'm gonna stay in control of me because I don't need to be triggered by this. I don't know where this is coming from, but your energy a little off. And it's not always our direct approach that will get the problem solved. Sometimes it's just staying in your own energy and the person recognizing they ain't moving you. If you think about old school, and I am a little bit not professional at times. Let me say that. I don't use the best of words. But, old school, I'm not going to sit and argue with you. If you touch me, then we got a problem. And that's mastering part of your energy. Because What are we arguing for? Because that's raising my energy level where you at. And if I'm in control of me, then I'm not about that. And that's how most disagreements escalate, because we allow ourselves to get wrapped up in somebody else's energy. And your negative self-talk to yourself already escalates your energy.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I was just reading that in the book that I'm currently reading about. When someone talks to you down like a child, you have to make sure that you don't reverse it, where you make them feel like a child, because then it's not going to solve anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tamika said, it could be that they went through something that day. It could be through stuff that they've been going through, and so you have to play that through your own mind and give them the benefit of the doubt. And if you
Mm-hmm.
hold your energy, you might bring them back down, and then you're talking
Mm-hmm.
this to adults again with time. So I agree with that. But what I wanted to add, Tamika, when you had brought out about making sure that we get rest and everything,
Mm-hmm.
like I thought that was big because, like, it's true. Cause like I can go into grind mode and like I'm like a robot, man. I'm out there and I'm focused. And one thing that I found that has helped me, that some might not consider a form of rest, but maybe it's not rest, but it's a good way to release energy, is, exercising, going to the gym
Mm-hmm.
or going for a
Mm-hmm.
walk, because like it's gotten to the point where if I don't go for a couple of days, I already
Mm-hmm.
start feeling it. I start feeling it in my chest. I start feeling irritable. I start feeling like I have a lot of pent up energy that's negative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I got to let it go some way, one way or another. So I thought that was a great point, and I just wanted to highlight that it's very important that you do find a way to recuperate, to release it, to resting, recovering, and exercising, because man, I can feel it after a couple of days if I don't do it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Rest is so important and different. I like what you said. Some people don't think of it as a form of rest, but truth be told, exercise is one of the most releasing of our pent up energy that you can do. That's one of the best forms, because it gets those I can't remember the right word, endorphins, I think that's what it's called, moving around, like it releases things. Like it's nothing, it's kind of like when you're in a high energy mode, you're building up, but then once you start pushing that energy out in exercising, like I train now with a trainer, and I never thought I could lift weights, but man, when I'm so focused in the weights, like I don't know, like aggression come out of me that I'm not even an aggressive person, truth be told. Like I'm the most chill kind of person, but it's like a whole different person take on me when I, lifting weights. And I don't know, because maybe mentally I'm like, oh, I'm strong, So definitely, yes. Making sure you get rest. I also tell entrepreneurs, make sure you have a turn off time. And that's hard when you're an entrepreneur, but you can't solve every problem all day at all. You cannot. And in our mind, well, if I don't accommodate them, I'm going to miss an opportunity. That like plays over in our mind constantly. And it's like that wasn't an opportunity if you missed. And if they want you back, you got to remember, you are selling a product people want. If they want it, just like Coach, just like Jordan, they're going to wait for it. And you don't have to like overexert yourself to get it, because your product, if you believe in your product and what you're doing, people are going to get it. And it just, you can't think like, oh, I like the word that you use, grind, because we get into this grind mode, and it's like our head is tunneled and we're down and we're so super laser focused, but we don't come up for air. And we need air. Any more questions?
I don't have a question, but I do want to just make a comment of what really stood out for me, and it was the mastering your energy piece. This is something that we've talked about before, because that's my theme for the entire year of 2020. Like I realized last year, like, okay, that's what this is. It's other people's energy, like completely throwing me off. Oh, I'm just flustered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
um I just think that was really really powerful, because people will offend you. Like people can just be so they can lack self-awareness, so they're not really even understanding how they're making you feel, and it literally shifts the energy, the productivity of the day, for me sometimes. So I just wanted to I guess, highlight the fact that for me, what really stood out again is just really being able to master your energy and not let other people affect you that way.
Mm-hmm.
I second that. I don't mean to prolong it, but I absolutely second that. That was
You
something
good.
that's found as well, because it can be off kiltering. Because I sometimes, when you're met with that tone so many times in a day as a person, it is a little deflating, if you have not yet taken the steps to master your energy. And sometimes you're like, I'm deferring to giving them so much, like maybe this is happening in their day. Are they doing the same thing to me when they're tearing me, kind of thing. So that has been, something that I definitely wrote down and I will definitely put into practice. Is just being more centered in myself, to not even let that, affect me and keep me on the same path,
Yeah.
I actually want to challenge you a little bit, because most people say that when I'm doing counseling privately, well, are they doing that for me? They don't matter. You do. Whatever they doing or not doing shouldn't concern you, because your mental health and your state of mind is at stake, not theirs. So you always have to stay super laser self-aware, because other people may not be as self-aware. That's not sitting there, oh, I'm taking it and I'm being punked, or whatever the word we want to use. It's no, I'm self-aware so I can stay in control of me. Would you rather be the one in control or the one out of control? And that's how the way you have to look at it, versus like, well, they not doing that. Well, they out of control. Which one you want to be? You can't play both hands. You got to either say, I'm going to be in control and they can do what they want to do and be okay with that's who that person's going to be. And it's not you sitting there taking it. It's you being self-aware and enough of yourself to stay in control of the situation.
I have found beneficial too, because sometimes it has to do with old mindsets too, like old mindsets that you may have had in the past when you were younger, when you were more mature, still finding yourself. Like, you know, it's gotten to the point for me where I even avoid certain entertainment that puts that energy in me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that whole "nuck if you buck" type mentality. You know, that'll
Mm-hmm.
push you quick. Like, you find yourself in that zone all of a sudden, and now you're like, "Oh, nuck if you buck." Then, but you
Yeah.
know, but but I have found that it's necessary to eliminate that, because it is pumping that spirit inside of me, and then it's bringing those old thoughts, that old mentality back to the forefront. And now here we are again, like what you were saying to me, like, am I going to put myself on the same level now, or am I going to maintain the control and rise above the situation? So that's also been very helpful, because sometimes you think something is out of you, but it's not. It's in your deep subconscious, just waiting to
Mm-hmm.
come back up. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important, which is a good segue to triggers. Knowing your triggers is so important. And this goes across the border for employees, entrepreneurs, whoever. Like, you have to be so self-aware that you realize your triggers. Definitely, like, we all have triggers for whatever reason, and they don't always change just because we become aware of them. But we have to learn to be in control of how to react to them, not trying to, like, some people think therapy is to get, oh, I'm going to get rid of that trigger. No, some things, if you are who you are, that's who you're going to be. The whole tool is to be self-aware so you can put things into play to stay and maintain the energy you need, or to ways to get through whatever that moment is bringing for you. Because some triggers, you can't take them away. They're built into your childhood experience. And we can't, I love when people say, oh, you can forget that. Your man don't forget. Our mind is a sponge. It remembers everything, and different things like always come up. And I know religiously they always say, you can forgive and you can forget. And that ain't true. Last time I checked, I remember everything. I don't necessarily hold it against you, but I ain't forget it either. So it's so important to just be self-aware, and also experience. We all come from different experience. So we have to be aware that other people's experience are not ours, and how people deal with things. Like, I heard today a young lady was like, she's not being professional. And in my mind, like I said earlier, how can you be what you're not exposed to? And so I had a different look on what was going on in the moment. And I could see where she thought she was handling the situation right, but I don't get caught up in right and wrong. So that saves you a lot of energy when you're in the workplace about right and wrong. It's not about right and wrong, it's about purpose. What is the purpose of what transaction we need to do versus what is right versus wrong? So that's another one, leading into like understanding your traumas, because your trauma will make you feel like the other person is wrong because of your trauma and your triggers, versus their experience may make them feel like they're right. So you have to learn how to put right and wrong aside and focus on purpose. What is the purpose of any interaction in anything in the business world and your personal life? What do I need out of this purpose? Oftentimes when I do couples counseling, and as you know, when we're connected with people, we're very strong opinionated. They wrong me. And so I always said, what's the purpose? What are you trying to get out of this? And well, I want them to do X, Y, and Z. So if you arguing about what's right and wrong, you deflected your own argument about right and wrong because you missed the whole purpose of what you wanted. And if you want to get your need met or your want met, you got to figure out how to approach that versus trying to combat somebody about right and wrong. Because what happens is, and this is especially in the workplace with supervisors or employees that are our peers, so to speak, we feel like they can't tell us nothing, they wrong, and they shouldn't blah, 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 blah. But you need them for something later on, but you don't even want to go ask them because you got a negative interaction with them because you so focused on the wrong. So your need can't be met. So you silently suffer in two ways. One, you got this negative self-talk in your head. Two, you can't go to the person who could help you because y'all done created this battle in your head about right and wrong. And so we have to learn to deflate the whole argument of right and wrong. Everything has a little bit of right and a little bit of wrong in it. It's the purpose and the moment of what you're trying to get. And how that ties into mental health is because mentally, we don't like to be the villain in the conversation. And when people make us feel like we're the villain, we automatically go to victimizing or nope, you wrong, and we totally forget about what's right. And now productivity is gone down the drain because we don't got focused on the wrong thing. Even in, like, if you're an entrepreneur, in entrepreneurship, we need partnerships, but we cut our hand off a lot of times because, no, I don't like this tone, I don't like this person, or they said something that was wrong and they ain't do da 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 da. But they really got something you can benefit from, but because you're so caught up in your mental space, you can't even see what you need because of your own mental blockage. A lot of times in the corporate world, I've noticed this across the border, people could be sitting in the same space and they don't speak, but y'all need each other for different projects. Like, really? Who want to go to work and not speak for 12 hours? That sounds ridiculous. And you have to know that's affecting your mental. While we sitting up there, I don't care, I'm just going to do what I got to do and get up out of here. You spend majority of your time in your workplace, whether it's entrepreneurship or as an employee or employer. So if you're unhappy at work, you know your productivity is being affected. Now let's take that outside of work. Now your home life is affected because that old saying about don't bring your work home and I try not to bring my personal life to home, that's a lie. You are in your mind all day long. Your mind goes where you go. So it crosses over. You can suppress it, but it'll inadvertently come out in different ways. I think you said earlier that how you find yourself irritable if you don't work out. Well, that irritability will cross the border from work to home, and it'll keep counter transferring over and over again. Anybody want to say anything about that?
I would just say that I had a conversation with a friend maybe a month or so ago, and we were talking about basically I might have been like venting, and he's like, well, you just got to be solution focused, like you can't get caught up in the details of it all, but like basically exactly what you're saying. What is the solution? How do you work towards the solution? And I think that, you know, a lot of it has to do with like your emotions kind of being in the mixture of it. And I feel like it clouds some of that sometimes. It's like, yeah, I want to be solution focused, but like emotionally, I am not at a place where I can even see clearly enough to say, okay, this is not the solution. This is not the solution. This is the solution. This is where I need to be focused. So I think just maybe even like some support on just how do you get out of that place of being in your head or being in your emotions, because you wanna offer your best, but like emotions are really powerful. For real. Like it just can throw, like I say, I get flustered and it kind of just like will shake my whole day a little bit and take me a while to get back. Like I try, like in my mind, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Like just chill, but it's like emotionally, I'm not here. Like emotionally, I'm in my feelings still.
So let me speak directly to that. A lot of people, like you said, make the mistake of like, it ain't that big of a deal, but it is a big deal to you. So one thing is being real with yourself. I tell clients all the time, own that shifted my energy, own that, because what you don't recognize or acknowledge, you can't even address. So, and this is being self-aware and self-talking to yourself, because the other person or whatever was said or done may not even change their mindset, even if you made them aware. Because we make the common mistake of, because people always like, well, communication is key, but self-awareness to me is number one for within self. Because sometimes you could tell a person how they made you feel and they stuck in their emotions, so that leaves you stuck in yours, and you have to control yours. So first acknowledging it, like saying, you know what, that made me upset. Then this is where that challenge comes that makes everybody uncomfortable and hate me and love me at the same time. Because my favorite question is, why does that bother you? And your why cannot end with that person or that situation. Your why always depends on you and self-reflecting. So for example, if somebody says something I didn't necessarily agree with and then it irritated me. Okay, so you know what, I'm irritated. Let me go process this. And sometimes literally I do have to, a situation happened with me where the person did irritate me. And I said, okay, if I say something right now, it ain't going well because I'm going to want to one up them. Because that's basically what happens. We get emotional, like you said, and then instead of self-reflecting or downplaying it, you know how you start making them sly remarks, or I'm going to just be quiet, I'm going to fall back and all the extra stuff we do. So what I had to do was I had to go back and just talk to myself and like, why is this irritating me so bad? And when I did my work, it was because I felt like the person was punking me, if I be very honest with myself. And it's like, well, why do you feel like this person punking you? Did you handle this situation in the best way possible? So I reevaluated my part in it, and I seen where I caused some of it. And sometimes be clear, sometimes you may have not caused anything, but then it may go back to your parents talking to you a certain kind of way, or your friend did something, an ex-friend or significant other. Somebody made you feel some kind of way. And in that moment, you're feeling that experience, which is causing that emotion. It's usually from some traumatic that happened to us, or we feel disrespected. And why do we feel disrespected? Because we feel like, oh, they can't do that to us. And we feel like we gotta say something back. But asking yourself, if I say something back, if I react, even if I do it professionally, let's be clear, let's say we're gonna do it professionally, will it meet my purpose? And if it don't meet your purpose, then you gotta ask yourself, do you want peace or do you want power in the moment? Because that's a lot of things that we go through in our mind. You're right, we're very emotional, but we want to gain power over people instead of peace with people. And you got to challenge yourself. To get my purpose met, I need peace, not power. And if you choose now, don't get me wrong, some days you're going to want to go to power. And if you do go to power, be ready for your consequences and maybe not getting your need met. So which is, you have to ask yourself, one, self-evaluate, acknowledge what happened, but self-evaluate really. And this kind of can happen quickly in the moment. Or either like if it's a moment where you can step back and say, you know what, just give me time to think about that. That way you're not saying anything inappropriate, and then really go self-reflect. And I always say, go back over it 5 times. Because the first time, you the victim. They did such and such to me. The second time, well, I still don't see where I went wrong. The third time, I'm just gonna take the higher route and I'm gonna be the bigger person. The fourth time, you kind of start calming down. You start being a little more rational. And the fifth time, that's when you finally resolve within yourself, it's just not worth it. I need to get this met and I got to do this to do that. So going over it really 5 times in your head with questioning yourself, why? Why is this bothering me? Why am I doing this? Why am I acting like this? Why am I feeling this? And it can never be because of the person, because ultimately, if you're saying the person or the situation or the place, you're saying they have more control over you than you have over yourself. And I'm big about controlling and managing and mastering emotions, mastering self. So just self-reflecting in your why. Acknowledge, then self-reflect, be self-aware, and then at the end, how do I get my purpose met? Well, before purpose, is power or peace. Do I want power or peace in this situation? Which one I want? And don't sit there and tell yourself, I'm gonna just be the bigger person, because you're really not being a bigger person. You're just trying to trump them now. It's not about being a bigger person either. It's about staying in your energy and getting your need met.
Very quickly, because I have to, I have oftentimes been met with the same question that Christina posed. And in my situation, like, when, as peers in the corporate setting, we bounce things off one another and kind of exchange experiences. And oftentimes you feel compelled to professionally address a situation so that it's not perpetuated. I'm a project manager, so it's all about, as you mentioned, like relationship building and making sure that, we're getting our needs met to fulfill our project needs. But oftentimes you also don't want to establish that tone that, people can just say whatever, because in my industry, that dominoes, and then you're met with that on every project, not every project, but I'm just saying for purposes of this. How do you, kind of contend with that? Because no, like in the situation I referenced earlier, I didn't say anything, but downstream that may have a negative impact, because if he talks to the next person and the next person knows that he used that tone, that could have impact on how I'm engaged with the next person in his position. So how do you contend with that? If you say peace, but then you don't address it necessarily because you're saying that's them, then how do you get past some of the things that, might happen downstream by not addressing it, which I didn't, but,
So I'm gonna challenge you again. You actually just put one person's situation onto a domino effect of other people. So you basically just said that other people will not have control of their self, that they're following the lead of this one person. So you actually are manifesting that in your mind, because you potentially are sowing a seed now that this is the way people will react. And by me dealing with project managers, like from big corporations, I do understand the nature of what you're saying, but at the end of the day, everybody's still an individual. But if you project the thought onto other people, manifestation in the mind is important. If you stay in your own energy with one person, people see how you handle yourself versus how really addressing that you feel disrespected. That's really the big issue if we're going to just put it on the table. But you got to ask yourself, why do I feel disrespected? What are you comparing it to that makes you feel that way? And again, what Greg said earlier about the person, like, is this taking a step back and self-reflecting. Is this the tone the person uses with people in general, or when they're in a high stress situation? Really taking inventory of that versus taking one situation and now making it a lifetime with everybody else. And even making past experience, because we often, and I do understand, we often address present issues from past experience versus this is a new day, you're in a new position. Not saying that if something comes up more than once with a person, then guess what? Then you pull them to the side and address it. But if you, like how you may be thinking everybody else think they could talk to me because he said that, but some other people may be sitting back like, wow, that was a little disrespectful. I wouldn't do that. Because you ain't taking that approach. You're taking the thought, like you put your whole mindset focused on this is the domino effect. And maybe in past experience it has, but really going with the mindset, one, acknowledge what you did. It bothers me, but you need to figure out your why. And then also self-reflect. Is this person like this in general? Or have you observed this in high energy situation with this person? Not saying that you need to figure that person out, but you need to figure out what you're dealing with before you go addressing it. Because you're causing yourself to kind of have a negative outlook now on other people. And not even knowing that you're doing that, but I'll bring it to the forefront of what you said. You said in this industry, like one person does it, now everybody else is gonna do it. And that's generalizing people. And we hate to be generalized. And you gotta ask yourself, maybe you run differently than everybody else. Just because you match that person's energy, that don't get you more respect. Because now people looking at you in a different kind of way. I'll give you an example. I had a neighbor in my office, and I was just giving her, telling her, making her aware that, you know, her conversation was being heard, and the other therapist, you know, said something to me about it, so forth. And when she came, this generally how I went in there, I was just making her aware, like this other therapist said, blah, blah, blah. This lady came back with backup like I had did something to her. She was up here. And my client was literally sitting right there. And she was going off. Well, now she was talking very disrespectful. Her tone, her demeanor, shaking of the head, the pointing finger, all that. But I was like, ma'am, I can't discuss anything right now because you up here. And so eventually I just was quiet. I let her say everything she needed to say. And you know what she did? Because after 5 minutes of her yelling, she recognized that I wasn't saying anything. And I'm not saying this is always the case. She said, you know what? Let's start over again. In my mind, I wanted to say I never began, but okay. But I didn't need to one up it. I really need to get peace so I can get back to my client. And recognizing my client recognized, and that was a first time client, my client recognized how I actually handled it in real time. And she was like, man, I was getting mad at her. And she was like, but man, you were so calm. That's what I need right there. You will be surprised what people pay attention to versus what you believe they're going to take from it. So one, making sure you're aware of just your own self-talk right now. And what you're telling yourself in versus past experience versus you create your current experience, not your past experience. They give you a reference point, but that doesn't make it 100% right either. So just challenging yourself to do something different, to be something different in that industry. Any other comments?
I just want to add that the whole thing about catching it in real time, one thing I've been learning how to do that I figured out about myself is kind of tripped out. Like sometimes it ain't got nothing to do with the other person. I'm just tired or I'm hungry and I haven't stopped and I didn't realize it. And then it's like I eat or I get some sleep and all of a sudden that energy is gone. I'm like, I'm not even mad no more. So it turns out that really they didn't do nothing. But I just I was tired and I was hungry. So it altered, how my mind was perceiving the situation. And so when I'm in the, if I find myself getting upset or frustrated, sometimes I'll just stop and ask, wait a minute, how long have I been working? Or man, have I ate anything? Or sometimes, it's also just pent up frustration. So if things haven't been going your way, you ever notice like you catch a blessing and then all of a sudden you're angry, and man, the blessing you get might not even be related to what you're actually pursuing, but just something goes your way, and all of a sudden, all that anger is just gone. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, so maybe it wasn't that serious because now all of a sudden I'm in a super good mood, because this good thing happened to me. So I've been trying to catch myself doing that and try to do it in real time, not, after the fact, after I done did something where I'm over here feeling guilty, but, try to catch it in real time and then address it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
I've been
perfect.
journaling, like when I catch it, kind of just taking a step back, like you mentioned, to kind of do inventory. I've been doing what they call the shadow work of the dark self, just kind of addressing, maybe tying things back to where it started so I can. So luckily I am, progressing in that way. It's just, it does weigh on me still, even though I, choose to take the higher road or say, hey, maybe we can, step back and I can capture some lessons learned from our conversation. What could I have done better? So I have done those things, but I can't say after still deploying all those things that I am fully graduated to where you are. I'm still kind of
Mm-hmm.
where Christina mentioned, it does, it takes, it's a journey, and I'm doing the work to get there, but I am nowhere near. I am
So
nowhere near.
I'll give you a question for yourself, and this is not to answer for the public, but just to say to yourself, what do I need to prove?
Mhm.
Just asking yourself that, and just going over, like, to yourself and being honest, being the vulnerable person that you need to be with yourself. And that will bring some light to you, I promise. I see Christina's closing those lips because, like, she knows I'm a challenger. So I'm always asking to self-reflect. I ask hard questions. And like I said, that's the love-hate most people have with me, because I believe you are the only person who can answer anything about you. Trying to control another individual will never pan out. And always just, even like sometimes we can address things and it doesn't change. Then every time I interact with this person, I'm going to have residue from each conversation. So I'm already leading with, oh, this is going to be a negative experience. And sometimes, like Greg said, being self-aware, like, is it something going on with me? Like, I may be hungry or hangry, as they say in the new world, or even believe it or not, and it's just a side note, the mental health nutrition, I'm a mental health nutrition therapist as well. And the food we choose affects our mental health totally. So when you drown yourself in sugar, you're on a high. Most things don't bother you when you're on a high. You're like bouncing off the wall. You don't really care. But when you straight down from that high, now you're in this sluggish, irritable situation on your mindset. So things start to trigger you more. So how that commercial, and not speaking against Snicker, because I don't want them coming from me, but like they say, take that bite, it takes away the craving, but it's packed with sugar. So you get high in the moment, because most of the time in our jobs, we don't sit and take time to properly eat and digest our food. We eat food on the go, we're eating fast. So our mind doesn't even recognize that, our stomach don't even see that we ate. And those choices affect our mental and emotional state of mind. So like some people, especially in high stressful, they live off coffee. And eventually you gotta know, you get that high from the first few sips. After that low comes down, you irritable. So now a situation that wasn't not demeaning any situation, but a situation you potentially could have handled differently. Now it's a negative impact, and now that residue carries on and on because of what we perceived and experienced in the moment. Any feedback?
Yeah, I would just like to add that that whole diet thing, that's big because the science behind fast food is intended for you to want some more. and it does mess with you. Like if you eat too much pork, if you and then on, I'm not speaking because I eat pork, but I'm saying if you eat too much of it, it's been known that it can mess with your psyche, it can mess with your emotions. So you do have to watch your diet. It's a good thing to do research on, I say. But what I really wanted to say was uh, one thing that has helped me too is learning that sometimes people treat you a certain way because that's their way of exercising their power over you. They know how you're going to react. And if you give in to that, then they do have power over you, and that's why you feel like you're being subjugated. The key is to let go and to make the decision that you're going to control how you're going to respond, when you're going to respond, and if you maintain it that way, and whatever they do doesn't get to you, that's something that has helped me a lot because I didn't realize that sometimes that's how people try to do it. They can't take over you any other way, but they can do it by forcing you how to react. And then when you react, then they take a step back and say, "Well, look at how he's acting. Look at what he's doing." And then they make you look like the villain. So now you're really feeling like, oh man, So that's one thing that has helped me.
Mm-hmm. That's super huge what you said. Stepping back and because people love to exert power, especially like when you're in a high position. You will get people, as I say, trying you, and they want to get you out of your element, especially now we're in the land of recording. Prime example, the Kirk Franklin and his son situation. Of course, he gave his portion, but he didn't give the whole recording either. But of course, like there probably was some trigger words that led to that reaction. But of course, because we live in this world now that wants to capture different things to make themselves the victim. Now people have gotten control over you to get outside of your character, only to be in control and then play the victim. Like, oh, see, look how they dealing with me. Look how they talking. I told you all along that whatever. So maintaining, like you said, your composure, no matter what. People always call me like the silent, like I could be an introvert or an extrovert. I'm kind of both, but I'm an observer. So I will sit back and just watch. And I believe like the louder you are, the less you being heard. Just because you're the loudest person in the room, or just because your tone is the heaviest, or you saying all these extra exertive things in this manner, people not listening to you. They taking inventory of you. So they learning how to push your button. A quiet person always observe the room. They don't need to trump anybody. They watching everybody in the room to see how people move. And one thing as leaders that we have to learn is we have to deal with each person according to their personality. That's kind of what I'm getting to with you, with your situation, like not generalizing everybody, especially when you're in a high management position. You can't deal with everybody the same. You have to learn how to manage people emotions, basically. Like some people are going to be that A personality where they need everything and they need to have that control. Here, take that control. I'm gonna give you what you could be in control of. Be my guest. Knock yourself out. That person who may need ABC 1, 2, 3, knowing that you have to give them. That's the gift and the curse of being in management, that you have to learn how to balance people's emotions, not people, but their emotions. A lot of people don't realize, like, we want those positions, but when you're dealing with positions that people are under you, and I don't want to say it in that kind of way, but that you have to be in charge of their work depends on your outcome, you better learn how to manage their emotions very quickly. Because if they get too hyper in their emotions one way or another, your project ain't gonna come out right. Any feedback?
This is crazy. Like, Christina, you couldn't have organized this at a better time because I swear to God, I read today, and that's what it said. It said, people, the book said, people respond emotionally, and when logic kicks in? It says, it kicks in to rationalize their emotional decision. So
yes,
they try to make logic out of their emotional decision. So it's crazy. So, like, it's funny what you're saying, though. It's so true that we have to deal according to their emotion because that's how most people are going to respond. They don't respond logically, they respond emotionally.
Mm-hmm. 100% accurate. People are emotional beings. Even the people who think they're not emotional are emotional. A non-emotion is an emotion. I'm raised with predominantly males. So I always get, and I'm a Cancer, as you was talking about zodiac signs. So most people, when they find out I'm a Cancer, they were like, oh, you're not emotional. No, I am emotional, but just not in the typical way that most people think I am, or should be, I guess you would say. Like, I'm not like, I don't get high energy from things. I kind of know how to stay in my lane of energy. And being raised with males, it has widened my ability to not overreact to a lot of things that maybe sometimes, and I'm not generalizing women because it depends on your experience, but sometimes the things that make us emotionally driven, most men may react to depending on the way they were raised, like, oh, that's not a big deal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's really not, because I'm not emotionally driven out loud. But on the back end, I'm more of an emotional thinker, and I logically have to balance that with my, like, okay, are you being rational or emotional? And again, most of when we get to our emotions, it's always about that right and wrong and how people make us feel. If they make us feel like, oh, they treated us bad or something, we get real into that. That's wrong. Versus like being logical about, what do I need from this person? Or if you need anything at all, truth be told, sometimes you don't. So it's one relationship that you don't really need to maintain, and we maintaining it because of comfort. Another thing I wanted to segue in is to communication is so important to mental health. Communicating, not blaming, but communicating. And most people always say they are effectively communicating, but that's really not true. People effectively communicate in the language they understand. So if I don't understand your language, then you're not effectively communicating with me. That's ineffective language. We're not speaking to each other. It's kind of like, I don't know if anybody on here has done the love test, what is it called? Love language test. I'm sorry.
Love languages. Yeah.
Yes. So most people, if you've done your own love language test, you usually are different in how you give love versus how you receive love. And I always tell people, we need to make a visual of what we need to people, because like for gift giving, right? Some people may think gift giving, oh, I need big, expensive gifts. But that person's language may be they need small, impactful gifts that mean something. So it's very important when you're communicating that you're illustrating visually through communication what your expectations are, what you need, what's the purpose, but really giving that person a visual to go by, because that's part of being effective in your communication. The flip side is most people only hear with their feelings. So when you're talking, people actually are not really hearing what you're saying. They're feeling what you're saying, how it makes them feel. What did this relate to back in a past experience in this current moment? That's how most people hear. We don't really hear. Most people, like how they say you listen to respond, but really they listen to how you making them feel, and then that's when they're going to respond, depending on how you make them feel. So it's so important. I call it clarification, verification, confirmation. And when you're speaking to someone, not only giving them a visual of what you're saying, but also clarifying. Like if me and you are having a conversation, it's your responsibility to clarify that you understand it or you don't. So most of the time for me as a counselor, I initiate it. I always say, you understand what I'm saying? And they'll say, yeah. And I said, so give me a summary of what it means to you then. And sometimes people get the mark, but most of the time they don't. So then I go back and clarify what I'm trying to, my intended purpose to come across in that conversation. And then after I clarify what I'm saying, that's in return for them to say, okay, yeah, now I get it. And they have to give me an example back to let me know that they understand it, and then I confirm, yep, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, how does that look in everyday business world, whether you're a peer, a leader, entrepreneur, whatever? When you're communicating with people, asking, hey, did you get what I'm saying? Not making a person feel like they don't have ineffective listening skills, but hey, did you just clarifying, did you get what I'm saying? Just because sometimes, like, and I always blame myself so people don't feel like I'm projecting something onto them. I always say, like, sometimes I speak too fast, or sometimes I ramble. And I know I don't ramble, but I'm saying that because I want you to feel comfortable to tell me the truth about what's going on in the moment that you're actually hearing versus what I'm making you feel like. And in the business world, that is so important across the border, communicating effectively. So that means, again, clarify, verifying, confirming with people what was your intended purpose. So everybody walks away from the conversation. And it's okay, you can agree to disagree at the end, but there's a clear purpose intended that everybody got. Any feedback? Y'all good on that? Okay, good. So the last one that I would love to talk about is just making sure, it kind of ties in together. Doing a self-check of awareness is so important when dealing with oneself. Not only, we talk about self-care a lot, but self-awareness to me is more important than self-care, because if you're not self-aware when you need to do self-care, it's irrelevant. People can tell you, oh, you need to do self-care, and you can do it just out of ritual, but if it's not when you really need it, it doesn't count. So being self-aware in the workplace, outside the workplace, is very healthy for the workplace. And how you become self-aware, always taking inventory, checking in with yourself throughout the day. We do a lot of talking to ourselves than we do to people, actually, because of our own thoughts. And so making sure you're aware of, we check in on our kids, our parents, our family, but how often have you checked in with yourself to see where you're at? And I mean, like, daily, because people always be like, oh, I really am starting to work, and they do a self-check 6 months into a year. You need to check on you daily like you do your kids to making sure where your mental space, where your emotional space is. Those are very key things that are important in the workplace and outside the workplace. So communication, self-awareness, and knowing your why and how to get your need met. And mastering, my favorite, not matching energy, but mastering it.
This is really good. Really, really good. Like, yeah. I think that you gave us some real, first of all, being able to ask questions and, get some direct feedback, but just some tools, because anytime you deal with people, we don't have, nobody here is not dealing with people in their day to day. Like with business, we have to interact with people. And so this was helpful, just getting some more tools for the toolbox. I am working, we work, you're my therapist, so you help me through things, but it's not always business specific that we're speaking about. So just relating this to some of the business encounterances, it's been really helpful. It's really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I mean, it was so timely. It's crazy, man. How this class came together, and then the book that I'm reading right now, and then it's like it's just good reminders, man. And it's like the last point you made about self awareness, like that's one thing. Another thing I've been trying to do, where like if I feel like I'm getting too tired or like I just can't release any more energy, like or absorb, I should say, absorb any more energy from anyone else. I go and I isolate myself, not permanently, but isolate myself where it's quiet and I can work through my thoughts, or I could just rest if I need to and do the things that I need to do to refocus. And if I have a bad day, that's another thing I've been learning to do. Like if I have a bad day, then I just tell myself at the end of the day, man, this day sucked. I had a bad day, but tomorrow's a new day, and I'm gonna try this again until I get it right. And that's it. I don't give up because it's like, well, if you give up, what other options do you have? Then we're gonna end up like the guy that we talked about at the beginning of our conversation. If it goes on long enough, right? So it's like, So yeah, I really appreciate, man. This is good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely timely. Thank you.
Awesome. Tamika, if you don't mind just sharing your contact information before we close out the masterclass, just for those who are, because there are people watching live, and just so that Latanzia and Greg also can kind of know if they want to get in contact with you, how to reach you, how to find you, and then we could close out from there.
Yes. So for both Step by Step and T Hill share the same number. It's 708-800-1138. I do individual counseling as well as mental wellness training for employers, and implementing mental health and wellness into the corporate space or the workspace, because we are so big about health nowadays. And if you notice, and this is my little side tangent, when you walk into most work areas now, they have like the walking track, the healthy E, and all these beautiful things. But mental and emotional are first in the forefront because we are mentally driven to be healthy. We are emotionally driven to be healthy. And if that is not connecting, then guess what? Health goes out the window. We may sometimes do it for looks or dress, an outfit or occasion, but it's not something consistent due to the lack of where our mental space is. So also I'm located in Park Forest and Evergreen Park. I have 2 offices. My website is the actual name of the company, Step by Step, the SpaForYourMind.com, all lowercase, and thillconsultant.com is the other one. And I have an answering service, and I do get back within 24 hours. You also can text message me directly through the same number, 708-800-1138. So that's my information. Oh, I also have a book coming out, or a planner. It's how to manifest your vision. Most of the time we do these vision boards, but we don't manifest the vision. So the planner is meant to help you break down, as we were talking about earlier, breaking the vision into small steps and meeting your goals to really manifest your vision, whether that is to get your credit in order, because on the surface that seems a real easy goal, but when you start doing the day-to-day, it can get very discouraging. If I don't have $3,000 to pay down this credit card, how do I break that down into manageable steps? And this is for businesses as well, because you want to grow your business. How can you break that down into manageable steps? And that will be on T Hill's Consultant. It should be released in mid-April.
Awesome.
So look for the updates.
Perfect. So you all follow Tamika on social media. Those of you who are watching, thank you all for rocking with us this long. This was really, really good. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, you guys. Share this so that other business owners and entrepreneurs can get some of this good information. Thank you all for those of you who did share it. I appreciate that. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the evening. It's 8:15, so we got 45 minutes. We didn't do a full 2-hour jam this evening, so you all have some extra time. I hope you all come back for another session sometime and just stay connected with me. I appreciate you again, Tamika. And I guess we'll close her out.
That's that self-care time we need to implement.
Exactly. All right, you guys. Bye.